While Islamic State is destroying antiquities in Syria, the militant group is also shipping them to buyers in Europe and the US.
They have value for these organizations.
They employ locals to loot antiquities, use artifacts to barter for weapons and bribe officials.
That material can be used as criminal capital between different criminal organizations.
Employ a network of dealers in the Middle East and beyond.
There are so many customers from Germany, from London, from USA.
And take a cut of the profits. Based on Islamic State documents and interviews with traffickers and law enforcement officials, the Wall Street Journal can reveal a pattern of plunder that takes priceless antiquities from the battlegrounds of Syria and Iraq to the art traders of the West. Before the Civil War, the ancient city of Palmyra in Syria was a tourist hub. But according to Western enforcement and intelligence officials, the UNESCO World Heritage Site has become a looting ground for the radical Islamic State group, or ISIS. Ancient cities such as Roman-era Dura Europa in eastern Syria have almost been completely looted.
Islamic State has been heavily involved in using metal detectors to look for metal objects. Coins, religious paraphernalia from the Byzantine period, for example. Sites like Dura Europos or Tel Salahia in the area of Dura.
Satellite imagery shows the extent of the digging. Here, each dark dot is an excavation pit. According to Western security officials, the looting generates up to $88 million a year in revenue for ISIS.
The question of what antiquities is worth, they have value for these organizations. An example would be a particular extremist organization needs to get people across a border. They could use antiquities to secure that service from people, accomplices working on the other side of the border in Customs and Border Protection, for example, in the conflict zone. They could be used as bribes. In that case, they could be used to trade for weapons.
Antiquities, buried in the ground for thousands of years, are dug up by locals working under the supervision of ISIS. Permits are issued by Islamic State's Antiquities Division, headed by Abu Layth al-Dairi. ISIS calls upon a network of experts to verify items and establish their value. They charge traders a 20% tax on all finds that they sell. The antiquities are then moved out of ISIS-controlled regions and sold to middlemen in countries like Turkey and Lebanon.
You can see so many antiques in this area because so near of border.
Middlemen like Muhammad al-Ali, an antiquities dealer from Syria who has fled the country.
There are so many people working in this field selling antiques, and there are a network together. All this network working here to sell these antiques will know there are some antiques will coming soon from ISIS.
Al-Ali says Islamic State's Abu Layth al-Dairi contacted him asking him to find a Western buyer for this Roman-era golden ring. Al-Ali says the ring was sold, but by another middleman, not him.
Our sense is, especially for Lebanon and Turkey, that these are established middlemen that were operating before the conflict. They have the information that's necessary to move these antiquities onto the market, and they have the information that's necessary to launder those antiquities into the legal or illicit market.
Middlemen can command a higher price for their goods in Europe, America, or Asia than they can in Middle Eastern countries.
In Turkey, there are so many customers, but deal with people from Germany, from London, from French, from Switzerland, from USA. There are so many customers coming here.
The antiquities have to be smuggled out of the Middle East and into Western markets. This Bible, filmed by Mr. Al-Ali, was excavated from a 3rd century church at the Dura Europos archaeological site and then smuggled to Gaziantep in Turkey. Mr. Al-Ali says a buyer paid €10,000, approximately $11,000, to have it then smuggled from Turkey into Russia, hidden in a car full of vegetables. He says there's one way to ensure goods get across borders.
Pay money, pay more money, a lot of money to across. I know sometimes my friends pay near $5,000 for some antiques to cross border, but we'll be sure we'll sell it by $10,000 or $50,000.
The Antiquities tend to follow an established route, from Syria through Turkey or Lebanon into Western Europe and the US, according to French and Bulgarian officials.
Really all it requires is a digital camera or a cell phone camera and a Facebook site or some other social media site where you can make the photographs of antiquities available. The photographs circulate in the West, let's say. Someone picks out what they want, and then on the other end, where the antiquities are hidden near or in the conflict zone, they're popped into a shipping envelope and then they're sent on to the buyer.
Once an art dealer has the antiquity, they then try to launder their origin. To do this, Swiss officials say dealers hide the goods in free ports. Set up by private companies, free ports are rentable spaces that are given tax-free status by the state, much like the duty-free section in an airport. Items stored in free ports only pay tax once they leave the free port system, and thus generate traceable paperwork.
There's some suspicion, I know, that some of this material may be entering the free port system, the global free port system, where it can lie in relative secrecy for a long period of time in a tax-free environment, and then it will be trickled out onto the market to avert suspicion.
According to Western security officials, artifacts are moved from warehouse to warehouse, often being stored for years on end. The time allows for the item's true history to be blurred and for a new one to be fabricated. French officials say documents are forged using old typewriters. Swiss authorities say they are now clamping down on the free ports, but that some artifacts have been in the system for so long, it is almost impossible to trace their true origin.
We have fairly reliable information on the locations where some of this material is being cached, and it will be eventually shipped on a year, 2, 3, 10 years from now. The market today, in most cases, is exercising due diligence and is aware of the fact that there are a lot of antiquities from Syria and Iraq that are out there.
US Immigration and Customs Enforcement is investigating a number of US-based antiquities dealers that they suspect may be handling looted Syrian and Iraqi objects, according to people familiar with the probes. Swiss and French authorities say they are conducting similar investigations across Europe. Mr. Dante believes that buying these antiquities poses a greater risk than just funding Islamic State.
What we're seeing is a cultural heritage crisis, a cultural crisis the likes of which we have not seen really, to my mind, since the Second World War.
Mr. Al-Ali says he is aware of what his trade is doing to his country, but that doesn't stop him.
I know we are destroy our area by search, by everything, but now because the war, the poor people, they're all trying and searching about antiques to sell it, to getting some money to stay alive.